This is the Drake Passage, the world's most dangerous sea route that humans have been avoiding for thousands of years. Many people believe that the main purpose of building the Panama Canal was to connect the east coast of America to South America and the rest of the world by a shorter route, and this is true. However, this was not the only reason for building the canal. Another important reason for constructing the Panama Canal was that all ships desired to bypass the 620-mile stretch between Antarctica and Cape Horn. This is where the Pacific, Atlantic, and Southern Oceans meet. But why is this area called the Drake Passage? And what happens here that makes it like crossing the mouth of death even today? To answer this question, we must go back to the 15th century when a pirate named Francis Drake terrorized the Atlantic Ocean. At the time, the British and Spanish empires were competing for global dominance. Francis was no ordinary pirate. He had the direct support of the British Empire, and he used that support to assault African cities, destroy them, and take the people as slaves to Britain. The British Empire was quite happy with Francis, so they decided to send him to break the Spanish Empire's dominance over South America. The plan was for Francis to conquer the cities and villages on the east coast of South America, enter the Strait of Magellan, and then attack the villages on the west coast of South America and bring them under British control. In the process, he could loot as many cities as he wanted. The British Empire's only interest was that the entire coastline of South America should come under British control. In December 1577, Drake began his journey with 200 men on 5 ships. When April came, they reached Argentina. There, some of his men rebelled, so Drake punished about 40 of them by hanging. He left 2 ships behind in Argentina and carried on with the other 3. As soon as he crossed the strait and reached the Pacific Ocean, a strong storm struck, causing the 3 ships to lose each other. The crew on one ship assumed Drake might be dead and sailed back to England. Another ship got lost in the storm and ended up in Drake Passage, where it vanished. Drake followed this ship until the edge of Drake Passage, but upon seeing the dangerous sea conditions, he realized going further would only lead to death. At that time, no one knew what lay beyond this point, because no world map had been created like today. Drake turned his ship back and headed for the west coast of South America again, and then stopped at San Francisco after looting and plundering the west coast. He could not return to Britain again because he was afraid that if he accidentally got caught in this area again, he might not survive. That's why this area was named Drake Passage, because no one else had ever brought a ship into this part of the sea before, or if they had, they probably didn't survive to go back and tell anyone. Drake had told his close associates that he thought there was probably another world or an island beyond the sea where no one had ever been before. What Drake actually thought was an island was Antarctica. For thousands of years, humans believed that there must be a continent here. The ancient Greeks called it Terra Australis Incognita, meaning the unknown southern land. But no one had ever seen it with their own eyes. In the 17th century, British explorer Captain Cook set out in search of this southern continent. He crossed the entire Atlantic Ocean and entered the Southern Ocean, but he did not see Antarctica, and his ship was caught in this Drake Passage on his way back, and he barely escaped with his life. Captain Cook never went back to this sea again, although he was the greatest explorer of his time. It was this Captain Cook who discovered New Zealand. Captain Cook wrote in his journal that the risk of discovering this southern continent was so great that hardly any human would ever come here as far as I have come. The passage goes on to describe the dangers of Drake Passage, including its unpredictable weather, strong currents, and icebergs. It also tells the story of several ships that have been lost in the passage, including the USS Indianapolis, which was torpedoed and sunk by a Japanese submarine while transiting the Drake Passage in 1945. The question arises as to why the Drake Passage is so dangerous. In other parts of the world too, oceans meet, so what is it about this particular passage? The place where the warm waters of the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans meet the frigid waters of Antarctica is known as the Drake Passage. The collision causes the water flow to increase to 200 million cubic yards per second. The world's most powerful river, the Amazon, has a flow that is 600 times less than the Drake Passages, so you can get an idea of how much this flow is. Because of the tremendous flow, the waves here can reach up to 60 to 80 feet. The convergence of warm and cold waters causes several cyclones in this region. Then, because to the water from Antarctica, the temperature can fall below -5 degrees Celsius. This location is also one of the most distant in the globe. Below is Antarctica, where no one lives, and above is the Deadly Sea. So, if your ship is involved in an accident here, you will be alone. Given these dangers, Captain Cook wrote in the 17th century that the idea of discovering the southern continent should be abandoned. But it is human nature to want to explore the very thing that we are warned against, and so it happened. The 20th century saw a surge in exploration and discovery. All of the explorers' attention was now focused on the South Pole. In 1914, the renowned British explorer Ernest Shackleton set out to explore Antarctica. While crossing the Atlantic Ocean, he reached the Drake Passage, where the seas smashed his ship into the ice glaciers, destroying it altogether. Ernest landed some of his colleagues on the ice and took 5 others in a tiny lifeboat to a nearby island to seek assistance. After a month at sea, Ernest arrived on South Georgia Island. But what he encountered in that 1 month, he characterized as follows. This is the worst and most dangerous part of our world's oceans, and my reaching this island is nothing short of a miracle. Ernest also claimed that Antarctica is the last great journey left to man. Over the next 3 months, 3 attempts were made to rescue Ernest's remaining friends, and miraculously, no one died throughout the mission. Similarly, in April 2012, a Brazilian businessman, João Lara, was going through here with 4 people on his luxury cruise ship to produce a documentary when a storm hit and 100-foot waves lifted the ship and tossed it into Antarctic ice. Fortunately, the ship's radio was operational, and they quickly issued a rescue request to Chile. However, the weather was so terrible that the Chilean rescue team took 4 days to reach them, and they were all rescued with much difficulty. In the last 10 years, there have been many such incidents here. Although with the advent of modern ships, old-time accidents have become less frequent, still all ships are reluctant to pass through here and prefer to go through the narrow passage of the Strait of Magellan instead. Although the Strait of Magellan also experiences unpredictable fog, strong winds and very cold weather, it is still a safer route than the Drake Passage. Before the Panama Canal was built, all commercial ships utilized this route to reach Western South America and North America. After the Panama Canal was completed, this route became nearly abandoned. However, due to the threat to the Panama Canal, this route will be congested with ships once more. The Drake Passage is one of our world's no-go regions, but it is also extremely significant because as Antarctica's ice melts, all of the water flows from here to the rest of the world's oceans. The Drake Passage also demonstrates that no matter how advanced our technology develops, we are as helpless in the face of nature as we were thousands of years before. I hope you learned something new and enjoyed watching. If you found the content helpful, please give it a thumbs up.